All right. Looks like we are in here. We are ready to go. Live Transportation Tuesday, February 17th. Hope everybody had a great Valentine's Day weekend and President's Day holiday. Oh, feels good to be back. All right. And since last time we did one of these, I got the big boy professional mic this time. So we are making some upgrades here with the sound. So does everything sound good? All right. Oof. Got a lot of stories going on here today. You guys all see the thumbnail. The Gordie Howe Bridge that we've all been excited for to open might be delayed. Then we got to talk about Knoxville. Might be getting another bypass. A new interstate loop is possible up there in Tennessee. Let's see how many people we got in here right now. We got 40. Okay, 40 live listeners coming here to talk about roads and trains and planes and automobiles. Okay. So does Knoxville need another bypass? It's funny. I actually have I'm gonna do a more thorough video about Knoxville's bypass dropping tomorrow. So you'd be surprised. Knoxville has some big time traffic problems for such a small metro area. All right. But enough about that. Looks like everybody is here. It's 275 a bypass. Yeah, but they're talking about building I think it's 840 they have right now in Knoxville. So they're talking about building a 475 bypass that goes further outside of that one. That's the plan. But all right, let's go ahead and get to the main story of the day, which is the Gordie Howe Bridge opening might be delayed if the Trump administration has anything to say about it. So let's take a look at that one. Let's see here. All right. Let's adjust our angle. There we go. All right. Gordie Howe Bridge. Let's take a look.
More drama tonight in the battle over opening the new Gordie Howe Bridge. Congressional Democrats say they are launching an investigation into President Trump's threat to delay the opening over potential conflict of interest. This after the New York Times reports on an alleged meeting between the owner of the nearby Ambassador Bridge and the Trump administration. Fox 2's Dave Kinchin joins us live in Windsor to break this all down for us. Dave, a lot of players, a lot of moving parts. Break it down for us.
Yeah, Jessica, this is not about a bridge over troubled water. The water's fine. The problem is the bridge, but some people could be in hot water related to it. We'll go to video right now and break it all down. Now, Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkins spoke with us earlier today. He says that there's been a setback in his relationship with Matthew Maroon, who heads up the ownership of the Ambassador Bridge, following that New York Times report that Maroon met with the Trump administration shortly before President Trump threatened to delay the opening of the Gordie.
All right, before we go further with this story, let me bring everybody up to speed on what we're talking about here. Because some of you might not familiar with the Detroit area might not even know what these bridges are and why these are a big deal. So here we are in Detroit. And as you can see, that solid black line over here is Canada, the neighbor to the east, if you're in Detroit. But the existing bridge is here. the Ambassador Bridge, which can't handle interstate level traffic, because on the eastern side over here, you got Highway 401, which we did a video about last year, a very busy thoroughfare in Ontario, Canada, and we have Interstate 75. So as of right now, the two ways of getting from the US to Canada are the Detroit-Windsor Tunnel, which trucks can't use, and the tolled Ambassador Bridge, which is privately owned. And down here to the south, which we can now see on Google Maps, is this new major connection that can handle all this international trade between the US and Canada that is scheduled to open sometime here pretty soon. So naturally, the owner of this Ambassador Bridge fears a loss of revenue once this bridge right here opens, because, I mean, this is a new, big, modern bridge that can handle interstate level traffic. So he was a big donor to the Trump administration. So there's speculation that this might be one of the reasons why the Trump administration is trying to halt the bridge opening, because this fear of competition. So let's get back to the story.
Bridge until, in his words, the United States is fully compensated for everything we have given them, and also importantly, Canada treats the United States with the fairness and respect that we deserve. Trump making that statement on Truth Social, touching on the ongoing trade tensions between the two countries, but Windsor's mayor says it's basically a billionaire teaming up with a billionaire, adding that it's no surprise the Ambassador Bridge ownership does not want the government-owned Gordie to open, as it would cut into their profits in a significant way. Listen.
Nothing surprises me after 25 years. It's disheartening because we have worked together to build the bridge with the state of Michigan. About $6.5 billion Canadian dollars have been spent to build the bridge and to connect it to the highway infrastructure on both sides of the border. And effectively, the bridge is ready to open today to increase commerce and trade and make it less friction or more friction-free, have less friction at the border, which is great for all of us who work and rely on the auto industry for our living. And so it's hard to believe the president would not open this bridge after accelerating the construction in 2017, after seeing the presidential permit being issued, and knowing that it's fully constructed.
As this opening is essentially ready to go, but the threat to delay it by the Trump administration takes place. Local officials, other local officials in Windsor, are telling people to take the Windsor-Detroit tunnel because both cities own that. They say, number one, the cost is lower and the money would go into both the cities of Windsor and Detroit, kind of like a shop local campaign. Well, tonight on The Edge, you'll hear more from the mayor of Windsor on that, and Detroit City Council member Mary Waters offers her take on that as well. For now, reporting live in Windsor, Ontario, Dave Kinchin, Fox 2 News.
And Dave, that's right. That shop local campaign, as you mentioned there, could hit the pocketbooks, which at the end of the day, this is all about money. But how else could this affect drivers, people that commute, people that travel back and forth?
Well, you know, for people really looking for that next bridge to open, I think a lot of people are looking for some of that relief, especially more on the business route, on the trade. You know, you got the auto industry, workers in Canada also involved in the auto industry, shipping, things like that. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, a lot of things at stake, and certainly I think economically. All
right, so the Trump administration is alleging that until Canada treats the U.S. fair with trade, and I'm sure you guys have seen all the tension that started when the second Trump administration got in office with Canada and some other American allies. But there's a second take on this, talking about the economic cost of this delay. So let's take a look at this one real quick.
Now to the bridge battle.
And the potential fallout from a threat from President Trump to delay the opening of the Gordie Howe International Bridge.
A new report from the Anderson Economic Group shows a delay in opening the bridge that was paid for by Canada could cost up to $7 million per week. It would also impact our auto.
And yes, that is an important detail, that Canada paid for the bridge. So the bridge will be told for Canada to make their money back on this bridge. Also, that is another part of this. Someone said change the name to the Trump Bridge and it will open tomorrow. I think you're right about that. If it was the Trump International Bridge, it would be immediately opened. Trump himself will show up to for the ribbon cutting.
Street dramatically.
Today, 7 News Detroit anchor Simon Shaquette hit the streets, hearing from commercial truck drivers and talking with an expert about what's at stake.
Commercial truck drivers we talked to had a lot to say about the potential for delays to the opening of the new Gordie Howe International Bridge. We also reached out to the owners of the Ambassador Bridge. Do you want to see that bridge open as soon as possible?
SAP.
What would a delay of the bridge opening represent for you?
It's very hard for us right now. It's a heavy traffic, construction everywhere.
On the streets of Southwest Detroit, where each day thousands of truck drivers pull off and onto the Ambassador Bridge, truckers like Toma Kuehl are stressing how great of an impact a new bridge between the U.S. and Canada would have, and products being driven both ways touch us all in a wide range of ways. What kind of products are you driving back and forth?
Everything, robots.
Food, fruits, vegetables, mainly salt, limestone, sand.
How do you feel about President Trump saying he may delay the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge?
I think he's a smart man. He knows what's going on. He's a businessman.
For years, owners of the Ambassador Bridge have spent millions to campaign against the opening of a second span. For more context, I called and visited them to ask about alleged conversations had with the Commerce Secretary this week, aimed at delaying the bridge opening, and I'm still awaiting a response.
Our estimates are that you have unavoidable costs between $6 and $7 million every week.
I also talked with Patrick Anderson with Anderson Economic Group, who just released a new report stating delays could slow trade and hurt both sides. What would a delay represent?
It's a setback for a lot of the auto industry that's been anticipating this. And to some degree for taxpayers, particularly in Canada, that have been financing it.
Under construction since 2018, the new bridge is already delayed, and the president has cited what he calls boycotts on U.S.-made liquor and Canadian trade talks with China as cause for further delay. Anderson says the toll of all this is hard to overstate, and he hopes more delays can be avoided as an official opening date remains unknown.
There is no date yet for the bridge, so nothing has been lost yet. Of course, everyone involved knows that there are some significant trade frictions right now between the U.S. and Canada.
Truck drivers tell us there is just so much at stake that we'll be closely monitoring to find out exactly when the new Gordie Howe International Bridge will open exactly.
All right, so there we go. The delay with the Gordie Howe Bridge. Now, personally, I don't think this is going to last too long because the economic cost of it not opening is just too high. So this could be another thing where Trump is delaying or announcing this tactic so that he can negotiate further. But we'll see what happens. But I don't think it's going to be too much longer before this bridge is open. And I personally am ready to see it open because I might have to take a flight to Detroit and check it out in person. So what's the argument against it? Well, the argument that Trump made is that he doesn't like the fact that Canada is boycotting certain U.S. goods and negotiating trade deals with China. But yeah, I don't think it will be too much longer before this thing is actually open. So our next story is about Knoxville. And there is a potential new bypass. So if you guys remember that video we did a few weeks ago about the most dangerous cities to drive on in the South, Knoxville was second on that list, and Knoxville's had amazing population growth. Tennessee as a whole, Knoxville, pretty much every metro area in Tennessee, aside from Memphis, has been growing very fast here lately. And we already talked about how bad Nashville is, but Knoxville and Chattanooga are definitely up there too. So they are proposing a new bypass for Knoxville. And this isn't the first time. It was actually 20 years ago when they originally proposed a bypass for Knoxville that got put on the shelf, but now it is back. So let's take a look.
Busiest, most congested interstate stretches in the state. In fact, the busiest stretch of interstate is in Knox County.
Ellie Bird spoke with county leaders on how they plan to handle the problem.
I think that's important. You need a healthy economy full of people that can move freely, goods and services can move freely, and people can enjoy their quality of life without sitting in traffic all day.
Larson J., Knox County Commissioner, brought the idea of a bypass over Knoxville to county officials' attention at the commission meeting. He says this is something Knoxville desperately needs, considering I-40 and 75 carry more than 180,000 vehicles per day.
Traffic has gotten worse. Our congestion has gotten worse. Our growth is imminent, and we are the regional hub for all of East Tennessee. And as such, that comes with growing pains. And one of those is just the congestion and the traffic that continues to build. And knowing how long these projects take, knowing how long it takes to get funded and even come up with a concept, you have to start somewhere. And
Knox County is located at the crossroads of the country, with more than a third of the U.S. population living within 500-mile radius of Knoxville. Amy Nolan, Vice President of Regional Enhancement, told us how the bypass would help overall safety of drivers by clearing up the congestion.
We are always going to be a freight corridor. And that's good. That's added a lot of manufacturing jobs, a lot of distribution jobs to this region. But we also have a lot of freight that just comes in North Carolina and goes right back out of Arkansas.
Knox County has grown 50% in the past 40 years and continues to grow daily. If this gets approved, a study will be conducted to determine the best area to put the bypass. In Knoxville, Ellie Bird, WVLT News.
Okay, I want to give you guys a visual of the Knoxville area if you're not familiar, because you're probably thinking Knoxville's not that big of a place, but the interstates in Knoxville are a lot busier. I mean, the population itself has grown, but one of the big reasons why, and wow, okay, this is around rush hour in Knoxville right now. So what you have, the situation here is that you have these two major freight corridors, which is Interstate 40 and I-75 converging in Knoxville. And keep in mind also that Interstate 81, which we talked about a couple years ago, is a huge freight corridor, also feeds into I-40 in Knoxville because it ends here in just east of the city. So you got this shorter bypass over here. I think it's 640. 640 is already there, but it's not, it doesn't really keep traffic out of, it's this section right here, this from downtown Knoxville out to where you see the red right here. That's the biggest problem, where 140 comes over to go towards Maryville. So I got a full video on this Knoxville bypass coming probably tomorrow, and you'll see the proposal is to get a bypass that starts somewhere in this area and runs further out and loops back around all the way over here near the road that takes you down to Pigeon Forge. So it's a huge outer loop that Tennessee is proposing to go around Knoxville. So, and I think they're already doing the study. Let's see. Hamilton says, it sucks. Oh, okay, so yeah, you're in Knoxville. So yeah, you know, Knoxville is no joke. So you don't really have good ways to get around that little bypass they have right now. Like pretty much when I come through Knoxville, if I'm on 40, this little thing right here, this bypass here is only good for getting to 75. It's not really good for bypassing Knoxville in itself. You're better off to just stay on I-40. So we'll see what the study says. If I recall, this study is supposed to be complete later this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if this interstate does get built. And it will be Interstate 475, if I recall. So Knoxville might be getting a bypass. You might be getting some relief. Now we got one of you guys' favorite subjects to talk about, and that is tolls. Now, people will go to great lengths to avoid paying tolls to drive on roads. I've seen some crazy things out here. I remember when I was in New York, I saw a guy put a Brazil flag on the back of his truck to cover up the license plate to avoid the tolls in New York. But right here in Colorado, there are some creative things going on to avoid the tolls. So let me show you how Colorado drivers are trying to avoid paying tolls to get around.
Right now, police are warning drivers to make sure they're following the law when traveling on the toll roads here in Colorado.
And now officers are cracking down on those trying to avoid the toll fees as more people have been caught concealing their license plate. And this warning comes after more than 150 drivers have been ticketed doing this so far. Fox 31's Jared Dean joins us live from 470 there. And apparently there's some repeat offenders, people who continue to do this.
Yeah, the people they're pulling over are the same people over and over and over again, maybe trying new methods to conceal their license plate, some of which they went as far as to remove their plates from their car altogether before hopping on these toll roads here. Now, police say that they're getting creative in dodging these fees. They're really starting to see it all. Drivers have been ripping temporary tags in half, covering the letters and numbers with things like paint and grease, using tinted covers, and using fake souvenir plates. Wow. Those who are caught are looking at court appearances, fines, and repayment of the tolls that those drivers tried to dodge. Expired tags alone can cost drivers hundreds of dollars already, but pair that with dodging tolls, and drivers could be facing a hefty bill. People we spoke with today say they are sick and tired of seeing these people try to dodge these fees.
It's not fair because then the tolls are just going to increase for the rest of us that are following the rules.
You're just making it harder for people because now they need more enforcement on those tollways.
Yeah, and those at Broomfield police say they're really trying to crack down on this, especially when it comes to 470 and some of these other toll roads in the area. And they also say that those trying to dodge the fees are actually just passing those along to the rule-following drivers of the road. Live from along 470, Jared Dean, Fox 30.
Okay. So you guys heard some of the creative ways people are trying to dodge the tolls in Colorado. I'm sure it's probably happening in other states too. Being out here in Colorado, I see it personally a lot. I've seen several cars with no tags at all, or some ripped up or covered up paper tag, or temporary tags that have expired 2-3 years ago. I've seen it all out here. It's crazy. But the toll roads in question, let's come over here. So if you guys recall, we also talked about a lot of topics on this channel. So we also talked about Denver's Beltway, which is mostly a toll road. So the town they're talking about is this little suburb here called Broomfield. And if you look at this, this is the part of the Colorado Beltway that goes through Broomfield. So it's the Northwest Parkway and E470 are tolled. So especially at times like right now, you can see this road is in the green because you have to pay for it. But some people, they don't want to sit in traffic, but they don't want to pay for the toll road. So basically what happened here in Colorado was that the government here at the time, when the feds were paying for 90% of the interstate construction, chose not to build the Beltway with taxpayer dollars. So Denver ended up getting a tolled Beltway. So it was built with private dollars and is operated and maintained by a toll authority. So if you want to get around I-25's traffic in the Denver area, you have to pay a toll in most parts of the metro. The curve of chaos, yep, you see it, there it is. All day long, all day long. It's not even rush hour yet. How much is the toll? I don't know how much it is off the top of my head. I do know the northwest section, that Northwest Parkway, if I recall, it costs even more than driving the rest of the Beltway around here. But I think we got to have a dedicated video probably talking about how these roads are funded and why there's so many toll roads and express lanes and all these other things popping up now. Because, hey, these states just don't have the money to build these roads anymore. So tolls are going to be more and more frequent. But at the end of the day, yeah, like the lady said in the video, if you cheat the system and don't pay the toll, you're just making it harder on everyone else. So just pay the toll or don't drive on the road. Just sit in traffic. You got to pay with your money or pay with your time. That's just how it goes. All right, so I want to pivot over to transit. So as you guys are aware, transit versus roads are a big topic here in America these days. How do you deal with the growth? And overall, you need to take a multimodal approach to managing growth and traffic and transportation concerns. Now, one of these places is Dallas. Dallas and Texas are known for their big, gigantic highways and their major spending on roads. Dallas is also known, well, a lot of people aren't aware, Dallas also has the largest light rail network in America. And that system is called DART. So the way DART works, all the individual cities that are a part of it, which is Dallas and several of the other suburbs around it, have to participate with an additional sales tax. Well, some of these suburban towns feels like they're not getting their fair share of service from DART. And now they want to leave the program altogether. So let's take a look at this. Dallas might be losing some of its transit coverage.
That option will now be on the May 2026 ballot if you live in Highland Park, but they aren't the only ones considering withdrawing from DART services. So are city leaders in Irving and Plano, and then right behind me, Farmers Branch. The cities basically say the money that they have spent for DART isn't worth the services that they're receiving. So DART, if you don't know, stands for Dallas Area Rapid Transit. It serves 13 different cities via bus, light rail, and streetcar as well. And they also offer paratransit and on-demand service. This is the map of their rail system. You can take a good look, get a little idea. Tonight, our JD Miles looking, though, at why the cities are angry and how those who use the service are now caught in the middle. It's all new for you at 5.
Michael Hernandez waits for a bus in East Plano to take him back home to Oak Cliff in Dallas.
I come out here maybe once or twice a week. Yeah, my nephew lives out here, but I know he's at work.
Hernandez says he has no other means to travel and relies on DART buses and trains to get around. But the city of Plano says there aren't enough people like Hernandez using the service that's been available for 41 years. The end of bus and light rail stops in Plano could be near if the city council approves an election tomorrow to decide on whether to withdraw as one of DART's 13 remaining member cities. Plano's concerns are similar to Highland Park's, where last night town leaders scheduled an election. Farmers Branch and Irving also have city council meetings this week to possibly do the same. Irving's mayor says only 1% of residents use DART or Trinity Railway Express service daily, while investing more than $115 million annually into the system. Plano city leaders say DART spent $304 million on bus service, with only $11.5 million spent in Plano. Of the bus stops in the DART system, only 4.1% are in Plano. DART's CEO tried to defend that math last week during a news conference.
A lot of people, a lot of people would want sort of a dollar in and dollar out, but that's just not the way things work.
Plano also questions why DART awarded more than $800,000 in executive bonuses last year. The chairman of DART's board would only say this when asked about it last week.
So those bonuses and all of our pays were reviewed, or they had the potential to be reviewed by the city of Plano and all of our cities.
Yeah, I think there's a gap between the public perception of how things stand with DART.
Ross Hunt says his research consulting firm conducted a study of Farmers Branch and Plano residents, finding that 60% say they should not withdraw.
So by an almost 3-to-1 margin, the voters in the cities want their cities to remain inside DART.
The 4 cities making decisions this week say they will immediately explore other mass transit options if voters choose to take a pass on DART's ride.
Okay. Suburbs want to leave DART. So let's take a look at the DART system itself. It is currently 4:38 in the Dallas area, and the roads look pretty busy. So this is Plano. Let's go to the transit map. So Plano, as some of you in the chat are already mentioning, Plano just recently got a brand new line connecting them to the airport. And now they want to leave the service. So this map, what you see on the map is just the rail service itself, but they also operate a system of buses, of course, that have even more extensive coverage. So basically, these suburbs feel like they're not getting their fair share of the service. Now, personally, when I was in Dallas, I have not been on the DART trains nor the bus. So I can't speak on the conditions on there. Maybe some of you guys in the Dallas area can talk about it. But if it's similar to what I've seen in a lot of other places in the US, you really don't see transit outside of a few major cities in the country that's that busy. But the idea of pulling out just doesn't really make sense, because most of these suburbs are talking about pulling out and creating their own transit service, which leads to now you got, oh, if I go to Plano, there's these buses that are running. If I go over to Irving, they got their own bus system. Every little place has their own system. So overall, I think you'd be better off, especially with the infrastructure already built, new lines already being opened and things like that. You're better off to just work with Dallas and figure out a solution that everybody can agree on. So it's a cash grab by the suburbs. Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot of cities are short on their budgets as well, because you saw that number in the video, over $100 million spent by Plano. So you know the leadership in these suburbs is looking at that like, oh, okay, we got $100 million that we could put back into our budget if we don't have to pay for this transit. So it's a very selfish reason to want to end the service. I think there was another video about this. So Dallas did respond. The vote hasn't happened yet. It happens February 23rd, and we'll find out what it is. But Dallas did make a recent play to try to appease these suburbs and get them to stay in DART. So let's take a look at that.
To give up its majority control of the DART board today. The move was made out of desperation in hopes of saving the rail transit system. Fox 4's Lori Brown is live at Dallas City Hall. Lori.
Clarice, Dallas City Council members voted in favor of giving up Dallas's majority stake on the DART board in order to appease these 6 member cities that are holding elections to potentially withdraw from the rail service. But 2 Dallas City Council members offered words of warning.
Dallas built DART, Dallas funds DART, and Dallas rides DART. And our residents account for approximately 75% of the ridership.
Dallas City Council members Kara Mendelson and Chad West were the lone council members to warn against giving up the city's majority stake on the DART board.
If we're going to save DART, the answer can't be simply by reducing Dallas's representation without securing measurable reform, improved service delivery, and accountability standards. Dallas taxpayers deserve governance proportional to their contribution.
I will be voting no because I can't get over a gut feeling that our dance partners are not interested in making sure the City of Dallas residents have the best public transit system possible.
Councilman Paul Ridley said he supported Dallas giving up control in order for all 13 member cities to be able to have a seat at the table.
We also are motivated by the spirit of cooperation and collaboration with the other member cities.
The resolution calls for each DART member city to have 1 seat on the DART board, with no single city having a majority vote share. It says Dallas should have no less than 45% of total voting power. Ridley added that the vote is no guarantee that the 6 member cities holding elections to withdraw from DART will cancel those elections.
There are 2 other significant issues that are not within our control that have been raised by those cities, which are the amount of sales tax revenue that they contribute to DART and service issues that have been raised by many cities.
But Ridley argued the vote shows Dallas is willing to cooperate with neighboring cities. Mayor Eric Johnson said saving DART, combined with solving the Dallas Police and Fire pension system and the future of the Dallas City Hall building, will be his legacy.
Maybe the most common question I get as mayor, as it relates to me personally, in this role is, what do you want your legacy to be? The City Hall deferred maintenance stuff is still pending because it's tough. DART and its future and what it means to this region and what it means to these issues are tough. 50 years from now, whatever, I'm telling you what your legacy is going to be. That council just got it done.
The resolution is mostly symbolic. A structural change to the DART board can't be approved by the state legislature until they meet next year. The 6 cities that have called for elections have until February 23rd to call them off.
Okay, February 23rd, we will find out the fate of the DART system in Dallas. Now, so that's a huge move. I mean, Dallas by far is the largest city that's a part of the system, but they're giving up control so that hopefully these suburbs stay on board. And I don't know, it could go either way because ultimately I think it's a cash grab. I think it's a cash play, like I said, to get the money that's spent on DART and use it on other things. I don't think these suburbs really care too much about building their own transit or transit in general. So let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Oh, we got a super chat. Okay, super chat. Who is this? Dotard says, investigate the grade railroad crossing for Highway 2 in Moncton, New Brunswick. Okay. I will look into that. Have not heard about that. So see what's going on with that. And thanks for the super chat. Always appreciate any donations supporting the stream and the channel. Shout out to you. Say remove him, please. Oh, we have someone spamming tolls plus taxation. Tolls are taxation without representation. Okay. Okay. The bridge in Canada needs to open up ASAP. Yes, it does. Yep, Plano did just get a new line. Putting public transit in non-urban areas is a choice. Well, if you're not in an urban area, the most transit you probably need is like just a small bus network. So outside of urban areas, you just use roads instead. What else we got? You know it's busy when even the tolls are in yellow. Oh yeah, the Dallas North Tollway. If you live in those northern suburbs, that corridor, yeah, you got to use that thing. Transit has become a regional bureaucracy. In some places it is. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Sometimes you look at the money that's spent by these transit agencies and you do sometimes wonder where it's going. You got to do some investigation. You got to always make sure that government officials are held accountable for what they're doing with these tax dollars. It's a cash grab by the suburbs. Yeah, I think so. Ask Atlanta how well that works. Yeah, you won't see transit in Atlanta expanding outside of Fulton County anytime soon. So I used DART when I was in Dallas 15 years. Quite useful. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Helson buses on the Big Island of Hawaii are extremely unreliable. Man, I cannot wait to get to Hawaii. One of the 3 states in the U.S. that I have not been to yet. I got to get to Hawaii. Arizona 30. You want an Arizona 30 video? That is on my list, actually. I think we talked about it on the Transportation Tuesday video, but I need a full video of Arizona 30. Maybe a line to the airport. Well, yeah, the DART in Plano, which is the main city that they're talking about, DART does connect to Dallas's airport, and it also connects to downtown Dallas. So I think it can be pretty useful. Wish the cities rely less on cars to get around. Yeah, we got a cultural affinity for cars in America. I don't really see that changing. They shouldn't complain about traffic. Yeah, true. If you only want to use the roads, then you can either have to deal with the traffic or find another way around. Trinity Metro doing better than DART lately? Oh, really? Okay. All right, and we got one more transit story. So it's not just Dallas where things might be getting cut back, but also the Bay Area, San Francisco, Oakland. BART. We got DART and BART. So this one stands for, I believe, Bay Area Rapid Transit. So BART might be closing stations. Let's switch it up. Yep. BART might be closing up to 10 stations. And again, over here, it's about the money. It's always about the money. So let's take a look.
For many riders, BART is a lifeline, but with a projected $376 million deficit by 2027, that lifeline could soon shrink significantly, a possibility commuters say would impact their daily lives.
I planned my life around having a BART station here, so it's a pretty big deal.
I do not know how I would get to work. The location for the office was chosen in significant part due to the fact that it was close to BART.
Tomorrow, board leaders will get a formal look at proposed major cuts to BART service if the system is unable to secure new funding.
Take away BART, I don't know what's going to happen, but it is bad management from the top on down.
A proposed November ballot measure created by the nonprofit group Transform would create a half-cent sales tax in 5 Bay Area counties, including Alameda, Contra Costa, San Mateo, and Santa Clara, and a 1-cent tax in San Francisco to support BART and other transit agency.
So I noticed they didn't, for some of you guys who are familiar with California, let me know. But I noticed they didn't mention Marin County. So does BART not go into Marin County? I know there's no rail bridge over the Golden Gate, but the buses not go into Marin County either? And I mean, Marin County is one of the major counties in the San Francisco Bay Area. Kind of surprising.
For 14 years. If approved, the group estimates BART would get roughly $300 million a year.
The concern, frankly, is a transit death spiral, where the service cuts that BART and other transit agencies will be forced to make will decrease ridership, which helps pay for the service itself.
I think it's an investment in the Bay Area.
If the measure fails, the cuts could be sweeping. Phase 1 would eliminate more than half of the train service and close up to 10 stations, including locations in Pittsburgh, Pleasanton, and the Oakland International Airport.
These are the 10 lowest performing stations in terms of overall ridership. The goal here is to impact as few riders as possible, but the reality of it is these kinds of changes that we're talking about are going to really impact every BART rider.
Service could end as early as 9 p.m. with fares increasing by 30% and even deeper cuts possibly later. BART board president Melissa Hernandez calls the current proposal unacceptable, saying in a statement, quote, "The proposed station closures are not just inequitable, but also unfair." BART board members are expected to vote on the proposal at the end of the month. In Orinda, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
Okay. So BART, and let me go look at San Francisco, see how extensive this BART network of trains is. Now, I was in San Francisco last summer, and I did meet some people, and they did tell me that they use this BART service quite a bit, especially when people were coming from across the, you call it the East Bay area, to head over into San Francisco. So, okay. Not too bad. It goes all the way, you got a line running all the way from Antioch to the San Francisco airport. That is impressive. Lines running all over San Francisco itself. Daly City is connected. Oh, we run all the way down to San Jose. Okay, so BART is a far cry from the transit in LA. So San Francisco is superior to LA when it comes to transit. Crisscrossing here in Oakland. We got lines running up to Richmond. Okay. Okay, BART, I see. Oh, wait. We got a line running to Stockton from the Bay? Oh, Commuter Express Heavy Rail. Okay. I see you, Bay Area. All right, but what we see right here is the same situation. It's also a money situation like we saw in Dallas, but this one is a little bit different. This one is the agency just being short on money. Now, I'm not going to make a comment on whether this is just operating costs or whether there may be some mismanagement going on, because I would have to do more research on that. But basically, they're wanting to raise taxes or raise fares, which when it comes to transit, especially in the U.S., raising the fare cost is a very delicate situation because you don't want to raise the fares too much to where people decide to get back in their cars, but you also need the revenue from the fares to help offset the cost of operation. All right. So that is BART. So DART and BART are having some financial issues. We'll see what happens here in the near future. So let's go to back here. All right. All right. Woo. We got roads and we got trains. No airplane stories today. Let's see what you guys are saying here in the chat before we roll up out of here for the day. Oh, we've been going for almost an hour. Let's see what we got. Did you hear about the new tallest building in Texas not being in Houston, but in Austin? Wow, I did not hear about that, but I'm not surprised. The last time I was in Austin, their skyline was growing like crazy. Like it looks kind of futuristic, actually. So despite it being a lot smaller than DFW and Houston, that Austin skyline is becoming one of the top in the area. There's video footage of locomotives passing over Highway 2 in Moncton. Okay, I'm gonna look into the New Brunswick. Actually, let me write that down. New Brunswick, Canada. Highway 2. We'll add that to the list to check it out. See if it's something I can make a video about. What else we got out here? TOD God has done a deep dive on BART stations that need to up the density. Is that a YouTuber? TOD God, okay. My hometown of Reading, Pennsylvania has BARTA. We got BART, DART, MARTA, BARTA. Gotta love these transit agency names. I think we have CATS in Charlotte. CATS. Marin County has its own transit agency. Okay. Some of the stops are just glorified parking rides. Gotcha. Cars are superior, safer, and more efficient for more people. More accessible. I don't know why you guys moved to a place in the South and complain about the lack of transit. Yeah, the South is overall, I don't expect the South to ever become a transit mecca. So if people are thinking that, it's probably never going to happen, but you still need a basic level of transit because there's some people who just simply can't afford a car. I don't think you should have to be able to have, you shouldn't have to have a car just to get around. So it should exist, but in places like the South, it's probably not going to really have too much of an impact on traffic. But it's mostly for people who just can't afford cars or simply, in some cases, you don't want to drive. Kansas City got nothing for public transit other than the streetcar. Yeah, that is true. I did notice that there was no transit in Kansas City. It's huge suburban sprawl. Kansas City is basically suburban sprawl, but one thing I will say about Kansas City, though, is that they have a ton of highways. So at least for now, traffic flows better than Kansas City than a lot of other major metro areas. You make it less useful, fewer rides it, which makes it less useful. Exactly, that is true. If you make it worse, less people are going to use it, then you kind of get on like a death spiral of, okay, we cut back because nobody's using it, and now even less people are going to use it. I might need to make a video of how to develop a decent transit network. Because one of the first things you need to do if you're building a new transit network in a city is get a line that goes from downtown to the airport. Because one thing I've noticed about America is that when people visit a place, they seem more willing to use transit than they are when they're in their hometown. It's pretty interesting. Like if you go to Disney World, a lot more people are willing to ride buses, use the trains, things like that. But when they go back home, they want to drive. Interesting how that works. They could modify the Golden Gate and run a BART track. Ah, gotcha. Okay. Transit when implemented properly is great. Yeah, that is true. One of the things that makes it hard to implement transit in the U.S. now also is one of the reasons why it's hard to build. Well, one of the things that made the interstate work when it was built was it was easier to eminent domain different properties back in the 60s, 70s, early 80s. These days, it's very, very difficult to eminent domain property in urban areas to build where you really would want the trains to go. So I used the Capitol Corridor from Sacramento and transferred onto BART. Okay. Katz had to testify about the passenger safety after the tragedy. Oh, okay. Yeah, we all remember that. Oh, we got another super chat. This time from Star Lyra says, what's your favorite U.S. city, guys? My favorite is Miami. Ooh, that's a good question. That is a great question. I think I told you guys my favorite city in the country for right now is probably San Diego, California, but I do not want to pay California taxes and cost of living to live in San Diego, so I will stay right here in Colorado for now and just take a flight down to San Diego instead to visit. But me personally, I love San Diego. Perfect weather all year round. Seems a little cleaner than LA. Yeah, San Diego's the place. Star Ira. Okay, Star Ira. Gotcha. Oh, 301 Rocks agrees. San Diego. Okay. Did you hear about? Oh, we already talked about that. Drove from Dallas to El Paso. New tallest building just topped down at ATL, the Rockefeller building. Okay, I have to check that out. Yes, he's a YouTuber. Oh, okay, that's the TOD God you were talking about? Okay, I'll keep that one in mind. Toll roads, don't like it, but get used to it. Yeah, nobody likes toll roads, but as you guys know, I've mentioned several times, the federal gas tax has not been raised in over 30 years. Roads got to be paid for some way. So it's going to be more express lanes, more tolls. You're a streamer now? Yeah, we've done a few streams so far. What's the worst urban highway you've driven on? The worst urban highway is the Schuylkill Expressway in Philadelphia. Worst urban highway, bad quality. It doesn't. I would have said the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, but at least with the BQE, you get some nice views of the Manhattan skyline. On the Schuylkill, you just got to suffer. If you like transit, I give Miles in Transit, Classy Well, and Tom TRA a watch. Okay. Shout out to them. I think I've seen the Miles in Transit channel pop up a few times. Just like high-speed trains will never be common in the U.S. Yeah, that's probably never going to happen. There's a lot of capital expense that comes with high speed. We might get that Texas high-speed rail route at the most, but don't get your hopes up too much about high-speed rail here. All right. Have you ever played City Skylines? I have not played Skylines. I used to play SimCity 2000, then SimCity 4 back in the day, and I never checked out Skylines. I like toll roads when they're in good condition. Use Turo. How do you feel about James Fish saying he'll eliminate tolls for Florida residents? Well, I think DeSantis already said that. I don't know if you can. That's a big loss of revenue though if you eliminate the toll roads, because even though Florida gets a lot of tourists, the majority of people paying the tolls are still people who live in Florida. So unless you're gonna raise the gas tax or bring back the state income tax, I don't see how they could feasibly really get rid of toll roads in Florida for the residents. Excuse me. Check out the second level toll road in Charlotte. Oh yeah, I heard about I-77. I'm going to talk about that in the near future. Being taxed and paying tolls seem to be double dipping. Not necessarily, because like I said, the government is artificially keeping your gas prices low. So you either got the choice of raising the gas tax or paying tolls. What else we got? Skylines is the best. I might check it out. I don't know. I don't really have as much time as I had when I was younger to delve into those games. Americans are conditioned to believe in cars should always be affordable. Yeah, I mean, hey, cars have been dominating America for, well, before I was even alive. It's kind of hard to change that culture now. I like city skylines. Okay, congestion pricing. Oh, speaking of congestion pricing, before we get out of here, congestion pricing is working as I predicted. But we'll talk about that on a later video. But don't be surprised if congestion pricing starts getting proposed in more areas. All right, so that's all the comments. I appreciate everyone coming out to watch the live version of Transportation Tuesday. Especially appreciate the super chatters who donate the money, everybody who liked the video, commented, and supported the stream. I did schedule the 100,000 subscriber video for last Saturday, but then at the last minute, I found out that the NBA All-Star game was scheduled at the same time. So I decided to push it back to this Saturday. So you guys probably saw that on the upcoming tab. So that's what happened with that. Be on the lookout tomorrow for the Knoxville bypass video. We're going to talk more in detail about it. And of course, we got a video on Friday. I'll let you be surprised on what that one ends up being. And Saturday is the stream for the 100K subscribers this time. So as far as I know, there are no other major events this Saturday. So we're going to do it Saturday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time, 5 p.m. Eastern. Appreciate everyone for watching. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week for Transportation Tuesday.